trying everything in his power to make it to the top.
Monday Night Raw wasn't simply another weekly show. It was the continuation of a storyline that had already begun to reshape WWE's landscape. As the lights dimmed and Roman Reigns' theme thundered through the arena, fans knew they were witnessing the Tribal Chief return not just with presence, but with fury. Accompanied by Jacob Fatu and the OG Bloodline, Reigns walked to the ring carried a weight that only years of dominance and legacy could command. The echoes of Paris were still fresh. Betrayals, alliances, and chaos that blurred the lines between story and reality. Now in Philadelphia, Reigns was prepared to speak directly to Seth Rollins, a man who had mocked his family's pride, dared to defy his authority, and stood at the center of the vision, WWE's newest faction of power. Roman Reigns' chilling message. Once in the ring, Roman Reigns wasted no time seizing the microphone, his eyes burning with anger as he pointed directly toward Seth Rollins. His words cut like a blade, addressing the humiliation and mockery his family had endured, particularly the theft of his prized Jordans by Bronson Reed, who had arrogantly branded himself the tribal thief. For Reigns, this wasn't just about a pair of sneakers, it was about respect, pride, and legacy. He thundered that Seth Rollins' vision might parade itself as the future of WWE, but no faction could challenge the empire he had built with years of sweat, sacrifice, dominance, and intimidation. Reigns reminded the world that he had carried WWE on his back for more than a decade, redefining what it meant to be champion, and he would not allow anyone, least of all his former Shield brother, to undermine that dominance. He called out Rollins World Heavyweight Championship, mocking the Vision's so-called unity, and then, with his voice dropping to a chilling growl, warned the WWE Universe that unless Rollins acknowledged him, he would burn everything down. The crowd erupted in deafening roars, the noise nearly shaking the rafters as thousands of fans stood to their feet, torn between awe and fear of the Tribal Chief's rage. Jacob Fatu stood at his side like an immovable wall of force, amplifying the image of Roman Reigns not just as a competitor, but as an emperor defending his throne. This wasn't just a wrestling promo. It was a declaration of war, a warning shot that promised to stretch across Survivor Series and possibly all the way to WrestleMania, shaping the future of WWE in seismic ways. Seth Rollins strikes back. Before the echoes of Reigns' words could settle, Seth Rollins' music blasted through the speakers, sending the Philadelphia crowd into a frenzy. The mood instantly shifted as Rollins strutted onto the stage, dressed in his flamboyant gear, his trademark swagger in full display. But unlike his usual playful arrogance, his expression this night carried defiance and intent. Rollins was not coming to mock. He was coming to make a statement. With the microphone in his hand and his eyes locked on Reigns, he called Roman a relic of the past, a man whose empire was crumbling under the weight of its own corruption. Rollins declared that the Vision was not just another faction, but the undeniable future of WWE, crafted to replace the old guard and usher in a new era. His words cut deep, reminding the WWE Universe of their long and bitter history, dating all the way back to 2014, when Rollins betrayed the Shield and drove a wedge between himself, Reigns, and Dean Ambrose. Rollins warned that at Survivor Series, his faction would dismantle the Bloodline piece by piece until nothing remained of Roman's so-called dynasty. The crowd, split almost evenly, roared with emotion as both men stood across from each other, trading daggers with their eyes. Rollins' faction, Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman, served as proof that he wasn't just spouting empty words. He was leading a movement, a dangerous and determined group united under his leadership, and together they intended to erase the Tribal Chief's dominance once and for all. Adam Pearce's announcement and escalation. With tensions threatening to spiral into physical chaos right on the Raw stage, Raw General Manager Adam Pearce stormed out, his face a mixture of authority and concern. Knowing the stakes, Pearce quickly inserted himself between the two factions and announced matches that would pour gasoline on the fire rather than extinguish it. He declared that on the following week's Raw, Roman Reigns would face Bronson Reed in a no disqualification match, a stipulation guaranteeing weapons, interference, and all-out mayhem. This was not just any booking decision, it was a deliberate escalation, a challenge to Roman's pride, and a chance for Reed to prove that his tribal thief antics were more than mockery. To balance the scales, Pearce also booked Jacob Fatu against Dominic Mysterio, ensuring that both sides would be tested before Survivor Series. The announcement sent shockwaves through the crowd, who instantly understood that these matches were more than placeholders. They were battlegrounds that would dictate the shape of the war to come. Fans in the arena erupted into chants of OTC as Reigns raised his fist high, claiming his dominance once again, his legacy and supremacy hanging in the balance. Pearce's decisions had transformed what was already a heated rivalry into the most combustible feud WWE had seen in years. Social media eruption and fan reactions. The promo's impact stretched far beyond Philadelphia, igniting the entire wrestling world within minutes. On Twitter, now known as X, reactions poured in with lightning speed. Accounts like @WrestleTalk_TDV hailed the segment as one of the greatest promos of the decade, while at Netflix Wrestling declared that Rollins vs. Reigns at Survivor Series was already shaping up to be a classic before it had even been officially announced. WWE's YouTube channel uploaded the full segment within the hour, and by the following morning, the clip had racked up more than 3.7 million views, trending across multiple regions worldwide. TikTok was flooded with edits of Roman Reigns raising his fist as Rollins glared back from the stage, often captioned with lines like OTC versus The Vision or Relic versus Future on Reddit. Threads debated whether the storyline was heading toward War Games at Survivor Series, with thousands of comments speculating about Jon Moxley's involvement. Podcasts, fan blogs, and independent wrestling journalists called it the hottest WWE storyline in years, praising how personal and layered the feud had become. Whether you were a hardcore wrestling historian or a casual fan, it was impossible to ignore the storm that had just been unleashed. The personal edge, Jordan's, family, and pride. What set this feud apart from countless others was its raw personal edge. Bronson Reed's mockery of Roman Reigns' heritage by calling himself the tribal thief and stealing his Jordans wasn't merely a standard heel tactic, it was an insult aimed at the very core of who Reigns is. For the Anoa'i family, wrestling isn't just a business, it is an identity, a legacy handed down from generation to generation, and an enduring source of pride. Reed's actions, while entertaining on the surface, carried deeper implications, striking at the foundation of the Anoa'i dynasty's pride and mocking the heritage that had shaped some of wrestling's most iconic figures. Roman's furious response on Raw was not just about reclaiming respect in the ring, it was about defending the dignity of his family name, one that included legends like The Rock, Yokozuna, Rikishi, and countless others. For Reigns, this was not merely storyline drama, it was war on behalf of his lineage, his blood, and his legacy. The Philadelphia crowd, aware of the cultural weight behind the feud, responded with passionate intensity, making it clear that this was more than a wrestling angle. It was about family honor and identity, and that personal sting elevated the rivalry to legendary status. The Rollins Vision and its threat. Seth Rollins' Vision faction was no ordinary collection of wrestlers. It was a carefully curated alliance meant to represent every element of what he considered the future of WWE. Dominic Mysterio symbolized the next generation of wrestling royalty, carrying on the name of one of the most beloved families in wrestling history. Liv Morgan brought unpredictability and charisma, breaking barriers in the women's division. Braun Breaker embodied raw power and lineage, representing a mix of youthful energy and family legacy as the son of Rick Steiner. Bronson Reed provided brute force and intimidation, the hammer of the group, while Paul Heyman's involvement hinted at manipulative brilliance, giving the faction both credibility and cunning. Rollins' declaration that the Vision was the future wasn't mere trash talk, It was a manifesto, a mission statement that WWE's new era was already here, and Roman's dominance was nothing but a relic of the past. This wasn't just about two superstars feuding. It was a battle of ideologies, a collision between the weight of history and the promise of tomorrow. For fans, this made Survivor Series not simply a pay-per-view, but a referendum on WWE's direction. The wildcard, Jon Moxley's return. Adding fuel to the fire was the unpredictable return of Jon Moxley at Clash in Paris, where he shocked the wrestling world by attacking both Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. His involvement threw the entire feud into chaos, introducing a wild card element that no one could fully predict. In the days that followed, Moxley released cryptic statements hinting at respect for Reigns' actions in Paris, but his storied history with both Reigns and Rollins as part of the Shield meant that nothing was certain. Was he positioning himself for a reunion with Roman to take down Rollins, or was he setting himself up to destroy them both? Moxley's unpredictable nature made him the most dangerous player in the entire saga. Fans online speculated endlessly about his role, with some predicting he would align with Reigns, and others convinced he would form his own path of destruction, burning both factions to the ground. His presence guaranteed that the feud was not just a two-way battle, it was a three-dimensional war with chaos lurking at every corner. The state of the Anoa'i family legacy. Adding another layer of complexity was the fractured state of the Anoa'i family itself. For years, Roman Reigns' bloodline had symbolized unity, dominance, and familial pride. But now, the once unbreakable dynasty stood divided into splinter groups, each claiming to represent the true essence of the family. Roman's OG bloodline stood alongside Jacob Fatu and loyal allies, while Solo Sikoa had formed the MFT faction, recruiting the likes of Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and JC Mateo. Meanwhile, Jimmy Uso and Zilla Fatu spearheaded their own new bloodline, creating a web of rivalries that made the Anoa'i family civil war as compelling as any feud in wrestling history. Roman's promo on Raw wasn't just about targeting Rollins, it was also a message to his fractured family that he remained the true tribal chief, the rightful leader of the dynasty. Defeat at the hands of Rollins would not only hand the Vision victory, it would shatter Roman's standing within his own bloodline, leaving his throne vulnerable to challengers from within. Survivor Series and the road ahead. As the storyline developed, speculation exploded about where it would all lead. Many fans envisioned Survivor Series hosting a massive War Games match that would pit the OG bloodline against the Vision inside the steel structure, with the potential for the new bloodline or Solo Sikoa's faction to interfere and tilt the balance. The possibility of Jon Moxley's involvement made the stakes even higher, as fans debated whether he would side with Reigns, betray Rollins, or simply burn the entire battleground down. Beyond Survivor Series, the road to WrestleMania 42 loomed large with endless possibilities. Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, a Shield Roots showdown between Reigns and Moxley, or even Jey Uso facing Zilla Fatu for the ultimate Anoa'i supremacy. Each possibility represented not only dream matches, but the culmination of years of intertwined storytelling, setting the stage for what could become one of WWE's most ambitious and emotionally charged arcs in history. Survivor Series was no longer just another pay-per-view, it was shaping up to be a generational event. The WWE Universe reacts. By the end of the week, it was undeniable that this feud had captured the imagination of the entire WWE Universe. Social media platforms remained flooded with speculation, fan art, predictions, and theories. Wrestling news outlets highlighted the promo as the defining turning point of 2025, while fan podcasts and YouTube channels debated endlessly over which side would prevail. The merchandise numbers told their own story. Sales for both OTC and Vision-branded gear skyrocketed, proving that fans weren't just watching, they were choosing sides and investing emotionally in the outcome. The tribalism extended beyond the story itself, with fans creating hashtags, campaigns, and even fantasy booking their dream outcomes. Whether you supported Roman's fight to preserve the honor of his family or Rollins' mission to reshape WWE into something new, the consensus was clear. This feud was a masterclass in wrestling storytelling, the kind of saga that comes along only once in a generation. Conclusion: War on the horizon. Roman Reigns' chilling message to Seth Rollins on August 18, 2025, was more than just another segment on Monday Night Raw. It was a declaration of all-out war. With Survivor Series on the horizon, Jon Moxley lurking in the shadows, and the Anoa'i family splintered into rival factions, WWE had entered a period of chaos unlike anything in its recent history. This wasn't simply about titles or wins and losses. It was about legacy, ideology, and the very soul of professional wrestling. Reigns vowed to burn everything down if not acknowledged, while Rollins promised to dismantle everything the tribal chief had built. The WWE Universe now waits breathlessly, wondering who will rise, who will fall, and whether wrestling's greatest empire will be preserved or destroyed. What is certain, however, is that the saga is far from over. This is not the conclusion. It is only the beginning of a battle that promises to redefine WWE for years to come.